Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Selling Toronto. I am your host, Pete Lee. Feels like I've been gone for a while, but I'm finally back, and we're going to answer a really important question that I've been getting a lot from my buyers is, why are sellers purposely underpricing their properties? Is it some diabolical scheme to try to squeeze as much money out of you as possible, or is it just plain evil? Stay tuned for the full answer right after this. Okay, so welcome back, guys. And this question is so common. I've been getting it so much when I take my buyers out to go see property, or when we're about to put in an offer on a property that they really like. And it kind of traumatizes people, especially if you've put in a few offers and you've actually failed because the property hit, your radar at $599,000 and it ends up being $150,000 over the asking price. So why is this happening, and why are sellers deliberately doing this? Today I'm going to share with you the top reasons why a seller is underpricing their property, and a lot of it has to do with obviously trying to attract a much larger audience. Being an agent myself, the number one mandate that we have in our job is to try to get as many buyers as possible for any particular property. Back in the day when properties were a little bit harder to sell, getting one buyer was already very difficult to do. In today's market, if you're in a very high demand area, your house is probably going to attract quite a bit of interest, especially if it's priced appropriately or underpriced, especially because what happens is that opens the doors to a much larger audience, and you get people through the door to see the property and to get their interest. And obviously the great thing about this for a seller is that it suddenly gives a lot of leverage in the negotiations, because the conventional thinking is that when you're buying your home that the buyer is going to be able to negotiate on the price. But when you have more than one buyer, or even when you have more than one potential buyer, they can try to get the price that they want. They can try to get the terms and the conditions, such as the closing date, or to ask for a clean offer, which is an offer with no conditions. These are all the possibilities that open up for you as a seller if your property generates more than one serious interested buyer. Number two, and this is a really big one, it guarantees or virtually guarantees the sale of the property. So if you are a seller and, for instance, you're trying to upsize and you want to buy a bigger home, but you've already gone through the process and you've already purchased another home, and now you need to sell the home that you're living in, probably one of the best and smartest strategies that you can employ here is to underprice the property. And for you buyers out there who have never tried to do a double deal transaction, it is incredibly difficult to buy a property and sell a property at the same time. So what happens is, especially if you really need the money, not a lot of people can actually buy and close on two properties, at the same time and be able to carry and afford both. So it depends on how many interested and serious buyers there are. But if you have more than one, I'd bet that you're probably going to get it sold, and you're probably going to get it sold under your terms. Number three, this is very obvious to everyone, that when you underprice the property and you get as many people interested and you try to generate multiple offers, you're probably going to get the best possible price, and you're probably going to squeeze every single dollar out of this house when you're selling it as possible. There's a really old saying in real estate that a property is really only worth what a buyer is willing to pay for it. And this is so true, especially in the Toronto real estate market here. And I always like to say to my clients a lot of times is, whoever is the most motivated, whoever that wants this house the most, will get the house. Now, I will touch on something here, is that underpricing a property doesn't come without risks. And sometimes that risk is that you're going to deter a potential buyer from actually submitting an offer on the property, because they may be turned off by it. So that is some of the risk, and we are starting to see some of that in today's market. So it's really important to understand what the market behavior is, so what the buying behavior is in your particular area, because it's an emotionally draining process. Number four, so along the same lines of getting the best price possible, the terms and the conditions are really important in the negotiation. So things like closing dates, home inspections, finance, and any other types of things that could affect the deal. I generally find that the buyers are not as nitpicky, especially if they've gone through the full process before and perhaps they failed on another property, and they just come into the property not expecting so much. So they're willing to pay more, and they're not going to be as picky about, that little scratch on the hardwood floor. And so it almost becomes like how traditional sales have been, which is, placing the onus on the buyer. It's your responsibility to go through the house and find all the things that you are happy and unhappy with, and then placing a price or a value on that. It sort of becomes buyer beware again. And I really like this process because it makes everything clear. It makes everyone know what it is that they're buying here. It just makes for a much smoother deal and transaction, and a lot less headaches and hassles going forward as we close the deal. Number 5, establishing market value. And this one's really, really interesting to me because agents get a lot of flack for it. And I'm going to come out and say that I'm going to defend a lot of the agents here because, like I said before, we are going through unprecedented growth here in Toronto, especially in the core of the city, where we've never seen real estate prices explode to this level. And so for us to say what the market value is and to have a definitive black and white answer, it just doesn't exist right now. So it's really just more a function of just allowing the market forces to happen, and then we will soon come to see what the market price for a particular property or neighborhood should be. And if you are a seller, as I mentioned, this could be a very brilliant strategy for you if you're thinking of putting your house on the market this fall buying season, because under the right conditions, it could generate really, really spectacular amount of activity. I would definitely consult with your real estate expert, your agent, your broker, and just see if this is the right thing for you to do at this particular time for your particular property. You definitely want to get as much information about this as possible so you can understand how it works and whether it's the right fit for you. Because if it's not done right, it could be disastrous for you as a seller. Or if you have a very just general question about how to do this, feel free to like my Facebook page or subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can message me or ask me your private questions there. I'll also hook up my phone number and email as I usually do, so you can call me or text me, whatever form of communication you feel comfortable with, and I'd be happy to help out to answer your question. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I really, really appreciate it. This has been episode number 5 of Selling Toronto, and I really hope you have enjoyed this. And I've been getting tons of great feedback about the videos and tons of views as well too. So I'm really, really happy with what's happening, and I hope I can continue to deliver excellent content for you guys going forward. So thanks again. See you next time.